Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story Podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, it's Ivy Slater, and welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. Today, I have a guest. Her name is Bridget Cutler. She's the founder and executive director of Moms Helping Moms Foundation. It's a nonprofit in New Jersey. They do baby supply and a diaper bank. She founded Moms Helping Moms in 2011, shortly after she had her first child. And today her kids are 8 and 9. So it's an organization that's going to be approaching the 10-year mark. During this time, Bridget was recognized with CNN as a hero in 2015. She received the New Jersey State Governor Jefferson's Award in the Founders Innovators category in 2018 for her leadership, dedication, commitment, and addressing childhood poverty, which is huge. You know, this is one of our biggest crises in this country, let alone this world. And she also received numerous other awards. More importantly, before I tell you more about Bridget, welcome, Bridget.
Thank you so much, Ivy. Thank you for having me.
So you started this organization. What prompted this? How did this come down? You know, you wake up in the middle of the night and say, "Oh, I'll start a foundation."
Yeah, kind of, actually. It did happen somewhat accidentally. I had left my job in the finance world in New York City, and I actually went back to school to become a teacher. I wanted to do something that, you know, was kind of giving back a little bit more. I'd always been very interested and involved in different types of volunteer projects. So I was getting my master's degree and looking for some volunteer opportunities. And during this time I had a daughter. I had my first daughter. And I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is a pretty economically diverse city. And I was reading an article one day when my daughter was very young, just a couple of weeks. I was rocking her down, you know, for her nap. And I was reading an article about a mother who gave up her daughter for adoption because she could not afford to feed her. She couldn't breastfeed and she could not afford the formula, and she couldn't listen to her baby crying anymore because she was hungry and she had no other options, and she gave up her child for adoption. So obviously that's devastating to read, you know, for anybody. For a brand new mother who's literally holding your brand new baby and thinking about another mother having to go through it was just
heart-wrenching.
It was heart-wrenching. And I would say that was the catalyst that led me to say, you know, there's something I can do today to make things, you know, just a little bit better. You know, I'm looking around and I'm the youngest of 5 kids. So I have a million hand-me-downs. I have 2 extra saucers and a infant seat for every room of the house, and more than you could imagine. I also, on my husband's side, it was the first grandchild. So we were getting gifts every day from people I'd never even heard of. So I kind of just looked around and was like, we don't need all this stuff for one baby. And I have a lot of friends who have new babies, and I'm sure they have more than they need too. So what I did initially was just take up a collection of things that people did not need for their babies, you know, diapers they grew out of, or clothes that, you know, their mother-in-law bought that they didn't like, or a lot of things. And
sometimes, you know, it's been a long time since I've had little ones, but the memory is vivid. If, you know, a child wears something once, twice, and in a blink of an eye, they're out of it. They, you know, you put them to bed and you wake up and it's like, oh my goodness, it looks like they grew so much.
Exactly. So, you know, especially little baby clothing is often very gently used when a family's finished with it. So I did this big collection with the intent to donate it somewhere. You know, I washed everything, I organized it, and I started making calls to see who would accept all these things that I had collected, and I couldn't find anybody. I couldn't find any organization, any sort of central agency that was giving out these types of things. I mean, there are so many amazing nonprofits doing so many things for low-income families, but anybody who works in the nonprofit world will tell you that every single nonprofit employee is overworked and underpaid. So most of these places, it's not that they didn't want to do this, that they didn't have the capacity. They did not have the staff to coordinate it. They didn't have the storage space. They couldn't do it, but they loved the idea. So I just started one myself. I started by, I had all of this stuff in my garage, and we lived next to some of the government housing buildings. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put it outside and put up a sign and say free baby stuff. So that's how it started in 2011. I did that maybe 2 or 3 times. And then people joined me and started helping, and it got bigger and bigger. And now, almost 10 years later, we're a pretty large organization. We're serving, tens of thousands of low-income individuals in New Jersey every year. We're giving, this year alone, we gave away over 500,000 diapers. I mean, it's really something that caught on pretty quickly. And I'll say, now that I know more about the issues and other organizations, we're really the only place in New Jersey that does what we do. There are some other places that may have a clothing pantry or may have a food pantry or may have some diapers. But we're kind of the only one-stop shop for baby essentials.
So you are the go-to resource for families in need of some support in baby essentials. And I want to be clear about, because, we think about, oh my God, let me send you everything and its brothers. So let's just be clear for our listeners, because everybody has a big heart. We listen, it's like, oh my God, I can help here. And, we go online and where can we send this or whatever. So what is it that you actually help distribute that you find is the biggest need for these families?
So definitely the biggest need is diapers. Couple things that most people don't know about diapers. For one, there are no government safety net programs that provide support for families that cannot afford diapers. They don't exist. So the only places people can go are places like Moms Helping Moms. Also, there's something in our industry that we refer to as diaper need. So it's sort of like, if you've heard the term food insecurity, they don't know where their next diaper is coming from, and they're dumping out diapers and drying them and putting them back on their kids, or keeping their, 3-month-olds in one diaper all day. And, that leads to a variety of problems. And in addition to that, you cannot drop your child off at a daycare center or an early child education center if you are not providing diapers for them. Those places do not provide diapers for you, even the ones that are subsidized.
Right. So I want to jump in here for a second, because, one of the most important things for parents of children is for us to be able to go to work, to be able to provide for our kids. If we don't have child support, right, if we can't take that child to some sort of support, and what you're telling me, Bridget, is we must be able to provide the diapers for that child's day on their changing schedule, which is, every couple of hours.
Yep. And
then where does that leave the parent?
They're stuck. I mean, so of the, 1/3 of the families, and that's nationwide, 1/3 of families report that they can't afford a sufficient amount of diapers for their child to keep them dry and healthy. Of that 1/3, about 60% of them report being blocked from going to work or going to find work or going to school because they can't utilize daycares. They can't utilize, these early childhood education centers, and which to me just seems like just a missing piece of the puzzle. If more people understood that, and perhaps they came up with some, it's good for everybody to be in the workforce, right? And these families, contrary to what some people may think, they just want what everybody else wants. They want to go to work and earn a living and support their family and just have what they need. That, in my opinion, is something that everyone in this country who wants that and is willing to work for it should have access to it. And that's just not the case. So it's sort of this missing piece of the puzzle where, okay, we want more people in the workforce, but there's this huge chunk of people that they're stuck. They don't have anywhere to bring their kids. So that's a problem I like to highlight, because it's so few people understand that and know about that.
So 2020 has been a wild year, right? It's been an interesting adventure.
You can say that.
It's been an interesting adventure. And, bottom line is nonprofits are feeling it. Mm-hmm. So what have, how have, as the executive director of an organization that you now have, just fill in the blanks, how many employees?
7.
You have 7 employees, okay, and every employee, very often these employees have families that they're feeding.
Correct. And they're also all mostly part-time. And they also have kids who are now home doing remote, virtual school.
So how are you navigating as a leader this year?
Since the outbreak, I think first and foremost, we have an amazing team. I feel so thankful for every single one of our employees. They're just so dedicated and they're so hardworking and dedicated to, our cause. So initially it was more, I'm the co-executive director right now. So my other half, we were really most concerned with them and their personal lives and their situations. And at first we just said, listen, this is insane. You don't have to come to work. We got it. You don't want to get sick. We'll figure this out. But first and foremost, what do you guys need from us? And they all came back and wanted to go to work. So we said, okay, we're going to go to work. So we went from having, because we have a lot of part-time, it's not always 7 people there, but we went from having 2 or 3 or 4 people there every day working to 1 per day because we wanted to keep it as safe as possible. And we also went from, we would pack up items for somebody to come pick up in our warehouse, and they would come and they'd get them. And it went from that to now we have to pack everything up. We have to get it outside. We have to coordinate this pickup so that it can be contactless. So that kind of made things less efficient, but we just
right. More steps in that process.
Yes. But the amazing thing is the other big part of the problem was we have hundreds of volunteers that come in every year, and they are hugely integral to what we do and to our success. And we obviously couldn't take volunteers, especially in the beginning. So we went from having, let's say 20 to 30 volunteers a week plus 7 employees to 1 employee at a time. But the astonishing thing is we actually were able to distribute more than we ever have. And we've almost this year doubled, just for diapers even, we've doubled what we gave out in all of 2019. So everyone really just stepped up in a tremendous way and did everything they could to keep going. We never closed our doors. We never let anybody go. And, another thing we did was we started doing deliveries, which obviously typically isn't something that we do, but we just wanted to try to make sure that everyone still had access to our services, because now the problem just multiplied. I don't have an exact number, but it's exponential. Our demand it's through the roof. So, but I attribute all of that to our team. Honestly, they're.
I was going to say, so how in the world were you able to double your output?
Well, we did. We pivoted so prior to COVID, and hopefully we'll get back here, but about half of our clients are individual clients. So they will send us a list of what they need specifically for each child in their family. And we will go through our warehouse and we will, curate their bag for their, the child's size and their gender and, books and all those things. And it's time consuming, but it's really nice when you're able to give a family, here's everything you're going to need for the first 6 months. So we did stop doing that temporarily, and we focused on diapers because that's the demand that went up immediately. That's what people started calling for immediately because people were losing their jobs or furloughed or whatever. And also people were panic buying diapers and there were no diapers anywhere. So that's, it's again, our amazing, super hardworking staff, but also that we've said, okay, let's just look at what the biggest need is and let's just fill that as much as we can. And then we also added, we didn't used to give out formula because sometimes, people need specific brands because specific brands are covered by WIC. So they want the brand that they're going to get covered, by food stamps, right. Which, side note, WIC also very rarely covers enough formula for a baby for 1 month, but that's just a caveat.
Okay.
So what was happening was we had a lot of stuff expiring, and that just killed us. We don't want to be throwing out formula. So we pass on all our formula to food banks because that's what they do and they get it out quicker. But we quickly learned that that's something that people really needed. So we started taking that again. We also were getting some offers. If anytime we got an offer of something that we thought was useful, for example, we got cleaning products, we got water bottles, things like that, where normally we wouldn't take it because that's not a baby essential, but we just, anything that we thought our families could use, we took it and we got it out.
Got it.
So
how are you approaching 2021 strategically for the organization?
well, we actually, in the midst of all of this, had to basically vacate our space, and we had a huge leak and it was not safe for us to be there. So as if, this year wasn't tough enough, we then said, oh, wow, we have to leave our space like tomorrow. So we are in a transitional space and we're moving into a new space in January. So in terms of what we're going to be doing in the next couple of months and moving forward, honestly, things haven't changed that much. COVID is still very real.
It is very real.
The unemployment rate is,
is very real.
Is very real. So for now, we are just going to keep on trucking with what we've been doing. And as we have more time and as we are able to bring in more volunteers, then I think we'll slowly pivot back to giving out a wider array of things. But we for now are just really, we're still focused on diapers and formula, and we are doing clothing again. So we're not really planning on making any big changes, except hopefully getting back to the way we were, where we were able to provide a wider array of things for the families.
So I think, with our focus this year in the nonprofit series on her success story, where we've been really focusing on the smaller nonprofits, the regional, what thoughts or advice, things to think about for the person who says, yeah, I wish I could do something about this?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, I would say everybody can do something. If you don't have to start a nonprofit, but if you just care about it and feel like you want to do something helpful, just sit down and think about it, or, go on the internet or call, talk to your networks and see who needs what and do some. Everybody can do something. For people that might be interested in maybe starting a nonprofit or a grassroots organization, I think the biggest lesson I have to give from my personal experience. So I was a CPA, I worked at a big four accounting firm, and then I worked at a hedge fund. And, that world is very different from the nonprofit world.
Boy, is that world different from a nonprofit world.
Very, very different. And for me personally, being a CPA, I'm a pretty anal, retentive person, and I'm used to things having kind of these clear paths and clear answers. And the biggest lesson I had to learn pretty early on was, you have to let go of perfection. I would recommend that people do a little bit of research before starting a venture like this. Not, like I said, I kind of fell into it backwards and figured it out all after the fact. But you have to just be flexible and kind of figure things out. For example, somebody will call us and say, oh, we have 19 pallets of, laundry detergent. And we're like, okay, we don't have room, but you know what? Set it up. And between now and the time the truck comes, we'll figure out where the heck we're going to put it. So you just have to be you have to go with the flow. You have to roll with the punches. But the other, aside from kind of letting, loosening your, what's the word I'm looking for? Requirements, I guess, or if you are an anal retentive person like me, just, kind of loosening up a little bit. The other thing is really, the nonprofit network is unbelievable, and we would not be where we are today without them. So
definitely share more about this, because I want everybody to understand what it means that there is a nonprofit network.
Oh yeah. When I started this, I didn't know I started a diaper bank. I had no idea that was a thing. And I quickly learned that it is, and that there are other organizations in other states that do the same thing as we are. And we're lucky because we have a national network that has been a tremendous asset for us. And the thing I was kind of shocked about, again, coming from, the for-profit world to the nonprofit world, is how generous everybody is with their time, their advice, their information. People share their internal documents, they share, anything. We're all in the same game, right? We're all in this to help people. So that was the biggest surprise for me was, wow, like I can just say, hey, we need a, compliance policy. And they're like, here you go, here's ours. Just change your name. Everyone, it's such a place of camaraderie. So that would be another huge piece of advice is seek out, a similar organization. And first of all, find out what they're doing. And if you can just help them, because volunteers for every nonprofit are, they're our bread and butter. So either maybe you have a special skill, maybe you were an accountant, maybe you were, an HR, or so you could always reach out to something that you feel passionate about and say, hey, I have this skill and I have 10 hours a month. What, how can I help you?
And I want to jump in here because it's so often we think about, oh, it's a nonprofit. I could send a check, or, oh, maybe I'll send some diapers via Amazon or Walmart, or I'll do something. And of course that stuff is welcome. Yet people don't realize that how badly nonprofits needs a variety of skill sets, whether it be in the finance area, whether it be in marketing area, HR area, and to have that if you have that bandwidth and have that knowledge, operations, and you could lend some insight, a hand, some vision, some strategy, that's a gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. I mean, a nonprofit is a business. It's still a business, even though we're not, making a profit. You still need accountants and bookkeepers and lawyers and HR, and you need everything that any business needs. Social media, I'm not that old, but we have younger people doing our social media because they're really good at it. We have an attorney who's on our board who does our legal stuff for it. Like every single nonprofit needs that. And it's so valuable because to hire those people is extremely expensive. So like I said earlier, if you feel like you want to do something, everybody can do something. So just, sit down, take a minute, meditate, think about it, and just figure it out. One other small tip I would say, and this is kind of funny, but if you are interested in actually starting your own organization, you have a new idea, be careful about your name because we, again, kind of backed into this nonprofit thing. And shockingly, if you Google just Moms Helping Moms, you got about, 500,000 hits of different groups called Moms Helping Moms. So we are technically Moms Helping Moms Foundation, and there's no other Moms Helping Moms Foundation. But that's just like a small little thing that I wish we had thought about a little more.
And that, again, when you call a group of people with various knowledge, right? If you have anybody in marketing and website development and branding, would be immediately say, oh, let's go see if their name is available. Let's see how many people are using it. But when you're just coming about something organically and you don't have that that community or that board yet in place of different skill sets, it's so common.
Yep.
And I love, Bridget, what you said about nonprofits are businesses and they need every skill set a regular business has. So how can our listeners know more about Moms Helping Moms Foundation? And if they want to get involved, if they want to give a gift of anything from some diapers to some time?
Sure. Well, we have our website is momshelpingmomsfoundation.org. So like I just mentioned, you have to include that foundation or you might end up at the wrong place. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is Moms Helping Moms Foundation. We should pop up. And then Instagram is the same at Moms Helping Moms Foundation. The best place to go for volunteer information would be our website. So I do anticipate that we will be accepting smaller volunteer groups starting in the next couple months. We love corporate groups. They are super valuable. They're super hardworking. The groups that come are excited that they're not at work that day and they get to do something else, sort baby clothes or do something fun like that. And then in terms of donations, obviously we are not, we're not struggling, luckily, but we are spending a lot more money on diapers than we ever did because, like I said, we've given out twice as much. I should mention diapers are the only thing that we purchase with our own funds. Everything else is donated, but we do guarantee that every family that comes to us gets diapers once a month at the very minimum. So we have on our website some information about setting up virtual diaper drives, which is really helpful. That's another thing we lost with COVID. Normally we have 30, 40 people, maybe even more, doing diaper drives for us every year. So we get a lot of diapers that way. And we've had almost zero. I think we have a couple going on now that are virtual, but that's really helpful. Not only does it get us diapers, but it gets us some exposure, and maybe some other people get interested. And then lastly, cash donations are, of course, always welcome. And one cool thing about donating cash is that we are able to buy diapers through our channels at the wholesale price. So if you go to the store, a diaper costs about 35 to 40 cents, per diaper. And we're getting them for 15 cents per diaper. So we have,
Nice.
3 times the purchasing power as somebody who doesn't have access to our network. So those are some ways you can help. We love just social media support, share our posts. We do a lot of advocacy work as well. We've been to DC, talking to our representatives and our senators, trying to talk about legislation to get these families support. So we do a lot of exciting things, and we're always so welcome to any new supporters, anyone who's interested. We would love to hear from you.
Bridget, thank you so much for joining me today. And listeners know that we're always looking to give some piece of information, some insight, and ways that we can all continue to learn more. We always think about nonprofits of what can we give, but Bridget opened the piece of information about legislature and truly helping, making sure that every child in this country can be taken care of and taken care of well. And that's a hugely important component. Listeners, remember to hit subscribe. Underneath, we come into your inbox every Monday morning with great pieces of content and guests like Bridget here today, as well as leave a review, leave them what impacted you, what you took away. I'll always say the more stars, the better, and share it forward. If this made an impact, share it with somebody you know. Join us next week as we continue on with this great series, and happy holidays. May our gifts of joy, safety have a long-lasting effect for all.